So we're 1 month into the decade, and no lie, the scariest thing for any person has to be looking back 10 years ago and having made no progress. Now check it out. If that's you, be honest with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Start today. I promise you, it's never too late. And in today's story, I'm gonna illustrate just that. Now I reached out to Andrew Martinez, a JUCO football player who had one of the dopest 10-year challenges at the end of the last decade. He started last decade out at the wrong end of a shotgun. Then he spent half the damn decade in prison. Then out of nowhere, he turned it all around right at the buzzer at the end of the decade. Me and Andrew spoke at length about a month ago as he summarized his entire story for me. He wanted his story told, and he hoped that it would inspire people, to show people that it's never too late to turn it all around. And bro, progress, no matter how slow, is the foundation of happiness, and you know I ain't lying if you ever played an NCAA dynasty. You a 1-star school signing a 2-star recruit, you excited and you know it. Anyway, without further ado, this is what happened to Andrew Martinez. Cue the Wayne. Alright, before we jump in, I gotta take a moment to thank the homies over at SeatGeek for sponsoring the video. If for some reason you're unfamiliar, SeatGeek is an app that aggregates tickets from all over the internet. They put them in one spot, completely simplifying the buying process. The UI is dope because you can get a ton of information at a glance. Red means a bad deal, green means a good deal. You can also preview the view of each seat right from the app itself. So if you're hitting up any live events like a concert or any sporting events, of course, click the link in the description and download the SeatGeek app. And I can do you one better. If this is your first time using the app, you can use my code FlemLo, and that's gonna save you $20 off your first purchase. Once again, shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring the video. Let's get it. Andrew Martinez grew up in Manteca, California, a city founded in 1861. The people of the city wanted to name it Manteca, but due to a typo, it came back as Manteca, which apparently is the Spanish word for Lord. For some reason, they decided to just let that rock as kind of an inside joke with the people in the town. Manteca it is. Today, according to citydata.com, Manteca's crime rate is 74% higher than the average US city. Andrew grew up as a product of that environment, and he actually didn't play football at all as a kid. He had some size and athleticism, but was involved with the wrong crowds early on. Unfortunately, his mom wasn't really around when Andrew was younger, but he did have his pops there for the most part. Still, dude was young, he was reckless, and he had no direction in his actual life. One of the main reasons Andrew never played organized ball is because he actually got expelled in junior high before he ever even had the opportunity to do so. And once a kid that young gets expelled, not suspended, but expelled, his fate is usually sealed. A study done back in 2000 through 2003 found that kids who were suspended from school were 23% more likely to end up in the juvenile criminal system. Now again, that's for suspended kids. I'd have to imagine that for expelled kids, that percentage is a little bit higher. The study also takes into account kids all the way through the 12th grade. I'd have to imagine once again, if this happens in junior high, the percentage gotta go up once again. Because I mean, you can't get a job at that age. What is there for you to actually do all day? And remember, this is before esports was popping, before being a YouTuber was popping, before Twitch was a thing. Like, none of that stuff was it when Andrew was a kid. So if you a middle school kid who gets expelled, your mom's not around, your dad goes to work all day, you gonna find some trouble to get into. That's just what it is. So predictably, Andrew got involved in the street life. He was already kind of hanging with these types of crowds anyway, but now he had even more time to do so, and things just escalated. He began committing petty crimes as he sank deeper and deeper into that life. One day when Andrew was 15, he had a run-in with a man named Ben Lucero. Now, this run-in was a lot different than the majority of the encounters that Andrew was having at this time. See, Ben was actually the pastor of Awakening Church, a local worship center. He saw something in Andrew and he didn't pressure him to join a church, but he just told him. He said, "Son, there's a calling on your life. You can't run from it." What y'all think Andrew did? took off running. Andrew brushed it off and just kept doing what he was doing. Over the course of the next 3 years, Andrew's crimes began to escalate, getting more and more serious, more and more dangerous. By the time he turned 18, he officially began gangbanging, and at that point, there was really no turning back. Now, when you turn 18 in this country, you're considered an adult. You can vote, you can join the military, you can sign a contract, you can serve alcohol, you can buy cigarettes, you can get married, and if you're a male, you're a man at 18, and things in your life change. For Andrew, the year he turned 18 was filled with some massive life changes that aren't exactly the same changes that the majority of 18-year-olds have to deal with. Andrew, who was full-on gangbanging at this point, had his first child on the way. He was about to become a dad, and it weighed on his conscience. Yesterday, he was a kid. He dropped out of school. He had very limited education. That meant very limited options to take care of his family. Because he was expelled so early, Andrew's highest form of education was middle school. Now, when I talked to Andrew, I could tell immediately he's an extremely intelligent guy, and I personally value intellect way over formal education. Still, we know that for the majority of jobs, you need at least a high school diploma. So, that made it rough. So even if Andrew wanted to transition out of the streets, it was gonna be damn difficult, you know what I'm saying? Before Andrew was ever able to make that transition, he was involved in a street altercation. I won't discuss the details, but just know things went bad and Andrew ended up on the wrong side of a 12-gauge shotgun. The shot came from the side and a buckshot spread, hit him in the stomach, back, broke his ribs, pierced through, hit his lower left lung, his kidney, and his intestine, bro. Andrew was rushed to the hospital, life flashing before his eyes. I suspect he imagined the possibility of it all ending like this. He closed his eyes, felt regret, and then he woke up. Andrew survived the shooting, but he was hospitalized for over a month. After about 32 days, he was finally stable and was counting down the days until he can get out and go home. Unfortunately, that day never came. On his 32nd day in the hospital, the cops rushed in. Dude didn't even have the IVs out of him, okay? They arrested him right there. He went straight from the hospital to Stockton County Jail. He was locked up for an alleged burglary, but he had a gang enhancement added onto his sentence and ended up serving 4 years. So they transferred him to Solano State Prison so that he can serve his time. That was back in 2009. So Andrew started out the 2010s as a prisoner. He served his 4 years and got out in 2013. He was now 22 years old, and for the next 2 years, he was able to stay out of trouble and help provide for his family. But in 2015, Andrew got locked up once again. This time he was caught with a stolen iPhone. Due to his history, they hit him with all the gang enhancements and technicalities they could, and before he knew it, dude was facing 23 years for what was basically a stolen iPhone. Like, bro, that's crazy. They was really trying to get dude out of here, like, for real. While Andrew was locked up at Soledad State Prison, he was able to file an appeal on the overly harsh sentence. Fortunately, he won the appeal, because if he had gotten hit with that original sentence, my dude would still be in prison. So after the appeal, Andrew kind of lucked out and didn't end up spending a ton of time in jail that second time. However, while he was in there, he did have a second child born, so he ended up missing yet another birth of one of his kids. And the onus is on Andrew because he messed up, but I know he regrets those situations because, those are moments you can't get back. When Andrew got out, he struggled to find a job. With all the tattoos and his extensive criminal record, even fast food places wouldn't touch dude, and once he got rejected by McDonald's, his options were slim to none. He ended up finding a job at a local walnut shop. There, he was one of only 3 people that actually spoke English. It didn't pay much and the job kind of sucked, but hey, at the time, Andrew was happy to be able to contribute something to his kids' lives. He'd missed so much time and it ate at him, but he was ready to make a change. He just didn't really know how. One day, randomly, Andrew's roommate said, "Bro, if I was your size, I'll be playing ball somewhere." And just like that, light bulb goes off in Andrew's head. Only 2 problems. He was 30 years old and he'd never played organized football in his entire life. Still, and thankfully, he had the audacity to try anyway. He figured, hell, what's the worst that can happen? They say no? Nearby was just the opportunity that he was looking for. Modesto, junior college. Andrew went to the campus, spoke to the coach. The coach was like, yo, walk-ons are welcome at camp. You feel free to come. However, everybody does not make the team. This ain't Pop Warner. So only the top 70 guys make the team. Now, after you account for the D1 bounce backs and guys fresh out of high school who didn't have the grades to go D1, is honestly not a whole lot of space left to fill out that roster. In the eyes of Andrew, the 30-year-old freshman who never played the sport, making one of those spots, it was slim to none. So like I've said many times, the bad news is that he was 30 and he never played. But the good news is that he was 6'3", 315, strong as an ox, and had crazy heart. Okay, maybe you can do something with that. Now, because he never played, he didn't really have a position, but he told the coach that he was willing to do whatever it took to contribute. Special team, scout team, hell, he told me during our conversation he was basically willing to be a damn crash test dummy at practice, long as he could contribute and be a part of something. His teammates didn't really know what to make of him at first. Dude's tatted from head to toe, done real prison time, and seemed about as rough around the edges as a person could be. But his humble and positive attitude was surprising yet infectious. His teammates loved him. Dude was just so excited about being a part of the team, you had to respect it. When camp was coming to a close, the coach calls Andrew into his office. Time to find out whether or not he made that top 70. After the coaches ranked out the players, Andrew came in at 72. Didn't make it. Dude was crushed, so he goes back home feeling defeated. After a few days had passed, Andrew got a call from the coach. He answered the phone. He's like, yo, what's up, coach? I'm not sure exactly what happened, but somehow space became available or they extended the space. Either way, they made a spot on the roster for Andrew. And it's not an exaggeration when I say that phone call legitimately changed this man's life. Andrew played sparingly through the season at guard and special teams. His enthusiasm never wavered. He loved being a Modesto Pirate and made it his goal to be the best teammate he could be. Dude practiced hard and supported his teammates at every turn. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not. But Modesto went on to have a 9-3 record that year, and according to Andrew, it was the most wins they ever had in one season in the school's entire history. It was also the first time in the school's history that they hosted a home playoff game, a game that they won 35-28, advancing to the California Community College Athletic Association Championship game, or the CCCAA Championship. That game didn't go so great, but that didn't take away from the fact that this was the most successful season in the school's history, and Andrew got to be a part of that. That's crazy, right? They even played and beat Laney College, which is the school that's going to be featured on Last Chance U this fall. Today, Andrew is getting ready for spring training, and dude could not contain his excitement when he was talking to me about this. He said he was definitely in way better shape and pushing for more PT this year, but either way, was just happy to be a part of the team. Andrew knows professional ball is not in his future, so he's not wasting that opportunity in school. He's actually studying to become a social worker. That way he can help kids who may have similar situations that he had back in the day. Maybe he can help them from going down that same path. I think it's dope that a cat that been through so much finally found some success and finally has made some really good progress in life, and he's looking to actually leave a positive impact on the world. What a way to turn the decade around. In 2009, he was shot with a pump action shotty, then spent about half the decade in prison, but he figured out a way to turn it all around, due in large part to a sport that everybody on this channel is passionate about, proving once again that you ain't gotta go to the league in order for football to positively affect your life. Yo, shout out to Andrew for sharing the story, man. If you were inspired by it, be sure to go over to Twitter, give him a follow, and let him know that the story helped you. Link to Andrew's Twitter page is in the description. My name is FlemLo. I'm gonna holler at y'all next time, fellas. One.
Yeah.